Good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of our exploration of the Lester Levy sheet music collection. This week, I'll be talking about the labor movements, more specifically attitudes surrounding unions and strikes. So the first song I'd like to take a look at is called Come Join the Knights of Labor. This organization was founded in 1869, and it lobbied for reforms such as the 8-hour workday we have today, and they also sought to end child labor and convict labor. Whereas other unions restricted their membership to only white skilled workers, the Knights of Labor invited unskilled workers, African Americans, immigrants, and women as well. So by 1886, they had about 700,000 workers, but they eventually collapsed shortly after the Haymarket Square riot in 1886, in which a bomb killed about 11 people. Despite the fact that there was no evidence linking the Knights of Labor to the bombing, the organization unfortunately came to be associated with violence. This piece was written that same year after the Haymarket riot, and it comes across to me as sort of a PR boost song. There is a reference to Jay Gould. Gould owned the Union Pacific and the Missouri Pacific Railroads, in which there was a strike of about 200,000 workers in March of 1886. Negotiations were unable to reach a consensus, and the strike was called off on May 4th, 1886, the same day as the Haymarket incident. This song acknowledges the failure of that strike in the third verse, and it has a lot of calls to join the Knights of Labor, ranging from the title, which explicitly says, "Come join." And the song also has phrases like, "In union there is strength," and brother, friend, and neighbor. This really makes me think that the song was published after Haymarket to give the organization a PR boost, to portray the organization in a positive light. You'll also notice that this song was composed by a woman, Ella Lodge, and I think the fact that her name is featured so prominently on the cover suggests to me that the publisher was proud to be publishing a song composed by a woman. Now, looking at the music itself, it's notated allegro maestoso, which means fast, dignified, stately, kind of march-like. And unlike many of the songs we've looked at over the past few weeks, this was not an easy piece to play. There are lots of arpeggios. I've highlighted them here at the bottom. Arpeggios are basically chords that, instead of being played all at the same time, is broken up so each note is played individually, which means you have to take a lot more focus to play them. We also have accents over the words "there is strength, join," to really emphasize that this is the message of the song. Now, as I mentioned before, the Knights of Labor eventually fell apart after the Haymarket riot, but one of the other major contributing factors to their collapse was a lack of full participation in strikes. If not everyone participates in a strike, then not enough pressure is put on an organization to change. And they were eventually followed by an organization called the American Federation of Labor. And the next song is actually dedicated to the president of the American Federation of Labor, Samuel Gompers. This song is called "Stick to the Union, Jack." This one was published in Washington, D.C. in 1904. We have an image of Samuel Gompers on the cover. He came from the Cigar Makers International Union, and he was very popular in the American Federation of Labor, being elected every year except one until he died. Now, this song appears to be a warning to those who don't participate in the strike. As I mentioned, the Knights of Labor collapsed partially due to a lack of full participation, and it seems like the AFL was acutely aware of that. The main character in the song is named Jack. He doesn't participate in the strike, instead acting as a scab. A scab is just someone who fills in at an organization to replace a striking worker so that the organization can still function. After being a scab, Jack is shunned by all of his colleagues. So to me, it's a pretty clear message that's being sent by this song. And I'll also point out that this was specifically published by a trade union publishing company. This wasn't a general music publisher. Now, looking at the music for this one is Andante Moderato. It's not stately or march-like like the last song. It's a little bit slower, maybe a bit more of a ballad. We also have a note on the music that it was sung by the popular tenor vocalist John A. Finnegan. Sort of like other songs we've looked at in this series where there are famous celebrities on the cover, this is really a marketing attempt. And the song actually uses a technique that we've seen in a couple of other songs as well, in which the piano part matches the voice to help the singer stay on melody. So you'll see that the first four notes here, C, A, G, and F, for the words Tom and Jack were, match up with the notes right below in the piano part, C, A, G, F. Now, the third song I'd like to take a look at is called Labor Day March. This one is a clear reference to the holiday that was actually made official in 1894. The song was published a little bit later, 1896, in Chicago, and I also noticed on the cover that they went out of their way to secure a copyright in England. Now, I was able to find some biographical information on the composer, H.C. Werner. He was a Norwegian composer, and he actually published another song in our collection called Won't You Be My Sweetheart. Now, there was a question in the first Q&A about where this type of music was sold. And you'll notice on this cover at the very bottom, there's actually a stamp from the music store itself, so we know exactly where this particular song was sold. You may also notice on the cover that only men are being showed in this march, and they look very strangely identical to me. All of the police look exactly the same. All of the hats are the same. All of the mustaches, even in the second row, are the same, which is a little bit unnerving to me. But looking at the music itself, this is very clearly a march. The word march appears 3 times and in 2 different languages on the front cover. And it also has an Adlib chorus, meaning the chorus wasn't necessary here. If you have a chorus, great, they can sing along. If not, you can just play it without them. Now, this particular arrangement is for piano, but I can imagine the bass line at the bottom being played by a tuba, and there's actually a note that some measures should be played by a bugle. Now, this march is organized into different sections, like all marches, with what's called a double bar to delineate them, and I have the double bars circled here. These delineate the sections so that you can hear when each part is changing. This march also ends with the same music that is heard at the beginning to kind of round out the performance. Now, the last song for this week is very dramatic. It's called Ruined Through the Strike, and this one was published in Chicago in 1894. The text doesn't describe a strike, but just the results. And I'll include a PDF in the OneDrive so you can take a full look through all of the text. But to briefly summarize, in verse 1, they're setting the scene that everyone was happy, everything was wonderful. In verse 2, soldiers fire into a crowd of protesters, which makes the narrator lose his arm. In verse 3, the narrator's son gets sick and dies, which makes his wife then die. And in verse 4, the narrator realizes he can only understand life when he dies. It's a very dramatic song. It's a very sad song. And the chorus that follows all of these verses uses the words ruined, troubled, sorrow, pain. It's a very, very sad song, which kind of makes me think that this is not a true story. Rather, this is sort of a propaganda song that's warning people not to participate in strikes. The story appears to be a reference to the Pullman strike in Chicago in the summer of 1894, same year this song was written, in which strikers obstructed trains and were eventually fired upon by the army that was called in by Grover Cleveland. 6 days after that strike ended, legislation was actually passed to officially designate the Labor Day holiday. So it's a very interesting song. It's, I can see an argument being made either way if this was, a true story or this was propaganda. But thanks so much for joining this session. I know it's a slightly shorter video, but I'm very much looking forward to Tuesday's discussion.